Today on the channel, I'm going to answer viewer questions. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to answer viewer questions. About a week or so ago, I asked you all on my community on YouTube and Instagram if there were any questions that you had that you wanted me to answer. I'd be glad to do so. Nothing's off limits. I enjoy these kind of videos. They seem to do pretty well, so if they continue to do well and you like them, I'll continue to do videos like this. I had several people ask some questions, and I really don't look at these questions very much before I answer them because I want my answers to be kind of off the cuff, and I like to be surprised by the question. So who knows what I'm going to get asked today, but I'll do my absolute best to give you an accurate answer if it's a technical question, or just something from the heart or the gut if it's, you know, something about practicing or playing or my opinion on stuff. Remember, my opinions are just my opinions. They're not necessarily fact. I just give you my opinions for what it's worth, and I truly appreciate everybody who follows my channel or subscribes, and for the wonderful support. So, having said that, let's begin. First question comes from Wayne Jez Sue. That was from 6 days ago. So, how about some videos that deal with setup and repair? All right, well, I do have some videos. I've got probably 500 videos on my channel, something like that. It's a lot. I can't believe it's been that many in just a few years, but there's a few videos on there for Floyd row setups and some wiring and that sort of thing. I will do some more videos on setups. I've got some ideas. You know, one of my jobs that I do or used to do, not so much anymore. I used to do setups and tech work, and doing tech videos, it's a little frustrating sometimes because the comments can be, there's always, you know, there's a joke that says, you know, how many guitar players does it take to screw in a light bulb? And the answer is 10. 1 to do it, and 9 to say that they could do it better than the other guy. And it, not that I mind criticism, because I'm not going to say I'm the best tech or technician in the world, but I just don't like negativity on my channel. It's hard to avoid, and we have a very positive community on the channel, but I feel like negativity brings a lot of negativity from other people on the channel, and I don't want anybody getting in a pissing match in the comments. It doesn't bother me, really, honestly. Rude comments and stuff kind of make me laugh. A comment's a comment. But sometimes doing tech videos is a little frustrating because it can tend to turn into a negative experience in the comments and overall. So I shy away from it a little bit. But I promise you, I want to do some more videos about setup and repair. I've got some good ideas. So good question. And if you guys would like to see more stuff on setup repairs, comment on this video and tell me what you'd like to see or some things that you think would be interesting. Okay? All right, next question comes from Rocky H. Marty, if you had to choose one of each style guitar you own, which ones would they be? For example, which Strat, Les Paul, Telecaster would you choose in your collection to say that are your favorite? Okay, so I have some guitars here. I prepared for this question a little bit. I don't have my Strat handy, but I've got an American Professional 2 Stratocaster that's Olympic white with a maple board. I really fell in love with that Stratocaster, and I think I bought it in 2020 during COVID. I've got several videos of it on the channel. My son has that Strat. I pretty much gave it to him because he just loves Jimi Hendrix and that sound of the Strat, but it's still in the family, but it's on indefinite loan to my youngest son. I've got 2 boys, and he's a college student. He'll be a senior next year, and he loves playing guitar. And you know, you can't say no to your kids, and he loves the Strat. So my American Professional 2 Strat is wonderful. The V-Mod 2 pickups that the Fender Stratocasters come with are tremendous. The cutaway on the heel of the guitar is cool. the tremolo system, the 2-point tremolo system on the American Pro 2 Strat is excellent. So I really enjoy that Stratocaster, and I think it sounds great. For Telecasters, I have a Richie Kotzen Telecaster that I like a lot. The neck's really fat, which I dig that, but my favorite Telecaster is my Friedman Vintage T. This one I call the Bison. This is it's got two P90s in it with it's just like a 70s Telecaster, but it's got P90s. This thing is wicked. It's mahogany, fantastic. Friedman make great guitars. I bought this used off the Guitar Center website in about 2019, and it's been a workhorse for me. I love it. For Les Pauls, I've got quite a few Les Pauls, but I think my favorites right now, I've got this Custom Shop R8. It's not a Murphy Lab, it's a Custom Shop. This one is a 2000 and, let's see, what is it? I can't read without my glasses. I can't remember what year this was. 1 second. Bear with me, y'all. This one is a 2023 model, and it's an R8. I named this one Peaches. This one is so buttery and chirpy, and it just sounds badass. It can really rock heavy as well. It does everything, and I love the color of it. It's fairly heavy. I don't know how much it weighs. I'd say it weighs about 9 pounds. My current number one probably is my Murphy Lab R8. This is an ultra light aged Murphy Lab R8. The back of the neck feels excellent. It's got all the nitro lines on it. You can kind of feel it under your fingers lightly. It doesn't feel horrible, but it just feels excellent. But this guitar has got a really resonant sound acoustically, and it projects so well. This guitar just, when I play this guitar, it just brings something out of me that my other guitars can't. And I've got other Les Pauls I like almost as much as this. I mean, it's just very, very, very close. But this guitar is special. I'm not a big Tobacco Burst fan. It's kind of a bourbon burst, I guess. But that guitar's tremendous. So yeah, those would be my three standard, Strat, Tele, and Les Paul favorites. I've got other favorite guitars in my collection. I love my EVH Relic series, my white one that I customized. The striped EVH Frankie is fantastic. I have two Solar guitars that are amazing with Floyd Rose tremolos. One's got a bolt-on neck and one's got a glued-on neck. Solar make wonderful guitars, so I'm a big Ola England fan, and Solar, got two Solars that are tremendous. Yeah, so anyway, those are my favorites. All right, next question is from Ryan Guffey 4739. Do you have any tips on increasing sustain when using single coils? I know a Strat is not a Les Paul, but a little more sustain would be nice at times. Well, there's a couple things you could do. One trick that country guys do is buy a compressor, compress and squeeze the snot out of it. Just compress it. Distortion adds a lot of buzz and hum when you've got single coils, but distortion is like sustain. It's basically sustain, but you could run a little less gain if you're battling with the hum, and run a sustainer, and that'll give you, not a sustainer, a compressor, and that will help sustain your notes more. You could run a noise gate as well if you're getting a lot of hum and that's disturbing you, but I would say get a sustainer. You could get a really nice Dodd sustainer, probably for 50, 60 bucks used on Reverb, maybe for about 89, 90 bucks brand new. But sustainers are great for, not sustain, I can't talk. Compressors are great for sustain. Even if you're using distorted tones or clean tones, compressors will do the trick. So try that. That's country guys use compressors a lot with their Telecasters and their their strats, because it gives them, it's like metal and rock guys using distortion, that the compressors are what the country guys use to get that bite, that grip, and that sound. All right, RVK 5150, what's up, dude? Why are you so good at teaching, man? I know, a little brown nosing going on here. Well, I appreciate the compliment, man. I don't know how to answer that. I don't think I'm great at teaching. I appreciate all the wonderful comments I get from everybody about how you appreciate my teaching style. I guess it just comes from years of, I've taught a lot. I've taught professionally guitar lessons, and professionally in other careers. I have had to train and teach content on different things. So maybe that's where it comes from. All right, Dino572. Did you ever teach guitar in person? Because you have such a great teaching persona. Thanks for all you do. Yeah, I've got a couple students I do teach. I don't teach a whole lot because I just don't have a whole lot of time. And teaching takes up a lot of time. And not to be negative, but teaching's kind of tough because you get a lot of cancellations and students that don't commit, and you tie up a lot of your time, and sometimes that can be frustrating, and it can be unpredictable. I think teaching private lessons is fun, and it's rewarding. It makes you a better guitar player, and being able to connect with students is wonderful. So yeah, I do teach in person. Sometimes people reach out to me and want to do Skype lessons and that sort of thing, but man, it's just, I think that's sterile, and that's not kind of my thing. I really don't go down that road, but I'm open for taking on some students from time to time. Currently, I've got a couple of students that I teach on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and I appreciate you watching, and I'm glad that my videos can help and translate well over YouTube. Okay, Mark Edward, BL6CR. What's up, Mark? Great supporter of the channel. What's your favorite Van Halen song and or record, and songs to play on a gig or at home? All right, so playing favorite Van Halen song to play at a gig, I have to say is Mean Street, just because the groove, man, the funky groove and the vibe of the song is awesome. I love playing Mean Street live. At home, I love to play 5150 at home. 5150 is such a fun song, and those are certain Van Halen songs. Unless you really practice it as a band, you can't. It's hard for me to sometimes find a band or work with a band that could say, "Hey, let's play 5150," or "Let's play Best of Both Worlds," or certain songs, because a lot of those guys just don't know the material as accurately as like maybe us diehard fans know it. So playing some of those songs at home is more enjoyable than trying to play it with a band, just because you can jam on it in your room or your little home studio, and it's a lot of fun. Plus, I love the way 5150 sounds. I love Best of Both Worlds. I love playing Run Around. I like a lot of the Van Hagar stuff, just because that's when I was coming of age in the late 80s. That's when I was learning how to drive and get my first girlfriend and stuff like that. So even though I think the Roth stuff is untouchable and tremendous, I like both eras, I would say, equally. Sometimes I lean a little bit more to the Van Hagar stuff, just because of coming of age during 5150 and OU812. All right, next question's from Rick Deckard, 4348. Rick is he's a friend of mine. He used to play drums with me in Slippery When Wet in Atlanta. So Troy, you crack me up. Are you available for engagement parties, weddings, and bar mitzvahs as light background music, or is it only the rock and roll? Of course, that's a great question. If you guys knew Troy, Troy and I used to travel together on the road, and we were always hotel partners, on the road, and we traveled in my van all over the Southeast for years, and got in so much trouble, or could have gotten so much trouble, and had so much fun. But yeah, we played a lot of weddings and bar mitzvahs and did a lot of crazy stuff. So, but no, I'm not available for engagement parties, weddings, or bar mitzvahs. Not, unless I'm a guest, and is there an open bar and chicken wings? That's what I want to know. All right, Pick Slide. Hi, Marty. Thanks for all the great guitar lessons. They've really helped me a lot. Do you have any advice on setting pickup height? I'm looking for the best 80s hard rock sound I can get out of my guitars. Thanks. Pickup height, uh, yeah, I would say, um, I'm not a, I don't, when I set up pickup height, I go by the sound. I don't go by the book looking at like measurements and millimeters and centimeters. I pretty much I just look at the pickup and I try to get I would say maybe half a centimeter to a centimeter height between the pickup and the string, right? You don't when you're chugging on your guitar, you don't want to be chugging on it in the string to hit the pickup plastic, because sometimes people will put them so low that they don't realize it, and the string will start hitting the pickup cover. And you don't want it to be too close either, because the magnets will be so close to the string. Sometimes I've had pickups that were so powerful it almost makes the string sound out of tune, and makes the string vibrate a little bit weird. I like slightly underwound pickups because I think they make the guitar and the amp breathe a little bit better. So I kind of set my pickup height a little bit on the lower end. And as far as the best pickup to get 80s rock sound, um, really I'm a fan of Gibson pickups. I think Gibson pickups have a nice pure tone to them. Classic 57 plus, that's a tremendous pickup. Gibson 498T, you can pick those up pretty affordably on eBay. A 498T is really squishy and kind of has that classic Van Halen sound as well. Uh, a Burstbucker 2 and a Burstbucker 3 are good. Burstbucker 2s are slightly underwound, slightly a little bit, and those are nice for crunchy 80s tones. If you're going for 80s tones like AC/DC, 80s tones like Back in Black and beyond, I'd say a Burstbucker 2 or a 498. If you're looking for Van Halen tones, 498, a classic 57. Uh, the Seymour Duncan JB is a trademark, almost unbeatable pickup. Seymour Duncan Pearly Gates pickups are excellent as well. Um, Bare knuckle pickups are tremendous. The bare knuckle VH2 is a great sounding pickup. The mules and the Holy Diver bare knuckle pickup is wicked. So yeah, I'd say those are some of my picks. All right, next question. Sorry, I'm sniffling so much. The allergies here in Tennessee, man. My allergies and the rain and the weather is killing me. Um, all right. Uh, let's see. This comes from Sino Sure Anthem 2158. I think that's how you say that. Can you explain or show your Axe effects chain for Van Halen guitar tones? I really like Eddie's guitar on Drop Dead Legs, basically anything off 84. All right, so I'll explain my Axe effects chain. I've got a fractal Axe 8, so I don't have the Axe effects 2 or 3. I just bought the fractal Axe 8 because it does amp models and it does uh, all the effects and IRs and all that stuff in one floor unit. And you can run it 4 cable method into an amp if you want, or you can record direct with it. And it's like an Axe FX 3, except you can't run 2 amps at one time. It doesn't have enough memory, but you can run 1 amp and a bunch of effects, and you can, on the screen of your computer, you can, you can drop and drag the effects in the chain in the order that you would normally do it live on like a live rig. So what I do is I set it up exactly like I would one of my amps live, and that is like this. Um, I start off basically with the amp and the cabinet that I like within the Fractal menu, and I go with their Friedman amp, something overdriven like a Friedman BE model or some type of Marshall or a Soldano, whatever flavor you like, and I EQ that amplifier with a lot of mids, and I dial the treble back. I don't want it too thin sounding, and I run it through in the in fractals, the X8 specifically that I know the most. You can pick. There's hundreds of cabinets, 412s, 2x12s, 1x12 6-inch speakers. There's combo amps as well, but I go with the head, and I go with usually a 4x12, like some type of vintage Celestion 412. And you can, the impulse responses for these cabinets are critical. The impulse responses make your amp models sound like they're supposed to. So I have some ML Labs Friedman impulse responses that a friend of mine gave me. But you can get these ML Labs Friedman packages pretty inexpensively. Heck, you might get them free now. I'm not even sure. But I usually run, in the Fractal, it lets you run stereo. You can put a 4x12 with vintage 30s on one side and a 4x12 with Celestions on the other side, and different impulse responses. And in stereo, it makes it sound bigger. All right, so that's what I do. When I run live, I usually run a Friedman and I run a Marshall together, and I get two heads going at once, so it kind of has that big stereo sound. So that's what having two impulse responses in your chain will do for you with a Fractal. So I take an amp like a Friedman, two impulse responses, and I blend them together very well. You can set a proximity setting within the Fractal. Proximity settings in the impulse responses make it sound maybe a little bit meatier, a little bit beefier. You just got to adjust proximity levels a little bit within the menu. But I start with that basic setup first. Then from there, it's really simple. I just run a stereo delay after the amp and a stereo reverb after the amp, and that gives me that stereo delay setting. And I run my chorus in front of the amp, and maybe a phase 90, something like that. Usually I'll have a chorus that I can turn on or off that's in front of the amp, a stereo chorus. With delay, it's important to set it, do one side, say like 250 milliseconds, the other side 500, and that way this one's going like this fast and this one's doing this fast, so they're in time with each other, but it gives you that texture, that feel. And in your chorus, when you add chorus on top of that, it just gives you a really lush 80s sound. In the 80s, guys like to use chorus and delay, but you don't want to overkill it and drown it completely. So use your ears and your best judgment when adding that sort of thing. Eddie used a really tight delay on Drop Dead Legs. It sounds like he's going like 100 milliseconds and then maybe 250. Like, it's very tight. One side almost seems like it's really just barely there, and the other side just echoes a little bit. And Eddie and Don Landy, I think, added all that stuff after the fact. I think Eddie recorded completely dry with his Marshall, and then they added what Eddie called Jape, J-A-P-E. They added it later in the mix, so they really doctored that stuff up in the mix, like everybody does on their records. If you want to sound like that in your bedroom or at a concert, that's how I run my chain in the Fractal Axe-8. I hope that answers that question. So start with a great amp, great speaker sound, run your delay, your choruses, or your delay and reverbs afterwards. Put a little chorus in front of it. You may need to run a noise gate if your amp's really noisy. Maybe some type of EQ in the front. Boost the mids. Mids are very important. Bring your highs down a little bit, your mids boost them up. Don't get it too woofy on the low end. All right. King Kella teaches archaeology. I don't know, the cutoff. Hey, Marty, I used your recommendation of Guitar Madness 59er pickups from when you made the Unshark. The Unshark is a video I made of a guitar that looks like the Shark, but I didn't cut it. It's on my channel. Check it out. In my own build, they were great. Do you have any other aftermarket pickups that are recommendations that are inexpensive? Any that you like specifically for EVH tones? Truthfully, you can get pickups so cheap. If you're really going for that EVH tone, I would say look, it's not aftermarket, but try to find you a 498, a Gibson 498, or a JB, or Pearly Gates. You can find Pearly Gates bridge pickups for $80 on eBay. That's probably your best bet. Go with a JB or a Duncan JB or a Pearly Gates or 498T, just one single pickup. You'll find guys selling them for $69, $80. If you want something cheaper for a set, Guitar Madness make an 84 set, a 1984 pickup, which the 84 pickups are really hot. They sound They sound good also. So you might want to check out the Guitar Madness 84s. For single coils, uh, the Stratosphere. The Stratosphere is now on eBay only. They have an eBay and I think a Reverb store. They used to have a website. Sucks they took their website down, but the Stratosphere sell really good Alnico 2 and just Alnico in general single coil sets. Loaded pick guards, last I checked, for about $50. And the Alnico single coils from the Stratosphere are excellent. I stand by them. They're really good. I've used them a lot. But you can get, I think, a set of 3 Stratosphere single coil pickups, the Alnico 2s, for about $30. And a pick guard, a loaded guard. Less prices have gone up. About a year ago, it was about $49.99. So maybe $59 now, but still, great pickups, great price. All right, Love Muppet says, how did you become so knowledgeable about guitar repairs, modifications? Did you go to school? Did you teach, or did someone teach you, or did you teach yourself? All right, I didn't go to school for it. I taught myself. I did have some people that were knowledgeable in guitar repairs give me some tips and tricks, but I watched a lot of YouTube videos later on in life to help me out with some of the more difficult things. There are some things that I will not do. There's certain modifications I won't do. Like I don't do frets. I'll do them for myself, but I don't do fret jobs for people. And typically I try to avoid headstock repairs. I'll do them for myself, but you know, there are certain things with necks and frets that I just don't feel comfortable doing commercially for somebody. But it started off, you know, shoot, back in the 80s, as an early teen. If I wanted another pickup put in a guitar, uh, I would cut the wires and I would just solder the wires together. I wouldn't, because I was scared to solder stuff to pots. I didn't understand any of that. Boy, I was so crazy back in those days doing that sort of thing, but it worked. That's where it all began. And but then I realized, you know, when I got older, I'm like, oh, you know, it's okay. I can solder these to the pots, and the more that you do that stuff, the better you get at it. And I really honed in my guitar repairs around 2016, 2015. You know, I got a divorce and I was bored. You know, I was raising my sons, and that took up a lot of my time. But there were a lot of times with kids in their late teens and me home alone. I started buying guitar kits like mad, like crazy, and I'd buy Telecaster kits and Strat kits and Les Paul kits and Explorers and you name it, you know. And they're so inexpensive. You can mess them up and not feel like really bad about messing up a guitar kit that was $89 or $120 or something, right? So after I built about legit like 30 kits over the course of 4 years, you get pretty good at doing that stuff. Plus, I own a lot of guitars, and out of necessity, prior to building guitars, I learned how to do my own setups. I've been playing with Floyd Roses since the 80s, and you just learn how to change strings on Floyd Rose guitars. And because when you're you know, when you're broke and you're, you know, maybe a teen or you're in your 20s uh, or 30s or whatever age you're at, if you have to save some money and learn it yourself, that's kind of what you do. So setting up my Floyd Roses and lowering my action and adjusting saddles was a lot of trial and error, and you finally just get used to it, and you do it out of necessity. But yeah, building guitar kits was the main thing. I built so many kits. I just fell in love with it, and I started doing deep dives on YouTube videos and asking my tech buddies questions. And you know, it's just like anything, I guess. I'm not going to say I'm the best tech in the world, but I know my way around the guitar very, very well, and I can do really good setups and you know, repairs and modifications like that, just because you know, you just get comfortable doing it. But also a good sign of a tech, I think, is you never want to. I will pass on work that I don't feel comfortable doing, or if it's not 100% in my wheelhouse. I would never mess up someone's guitar out of pride because I don't think I could do it. So hope that answers the question. All right. Victor Aseri 4036 was wondering my thoughts on imports and things of the like Greco, Takai, Aria, Orville, Edwards. Okay, so I've never played a Greco, but Takai I have, Aria I have, Orville and Edwards. I've worked on several Edwards guitars and Orvilles and a couple Takais. Takais, um, I mean, they're I would say the quality of the Takais that I've worked on were as good as, you know, USA Fenders. They're excellent guitars, really good hardware, good parts and pieces. Arias I've looked at were the ones I've messed with were a little bit on the cheap side, kind of not terrible, but a little bit on the low end side. You know, like a lower grade Epiphone. Orville and Edwards guitars. I can't say anything bad about them. They're excellent. Uh, you know, today's imports, uh, everything is done with CNC machines, and they've got the patents and the rights to make those guitars, and they're all made in like the same two or three factories. All these guitars, right? But what it comes down to is, you know, are they taking the time to set them up and spend a little bit more time to make sure, you know, the frets are dressed properly and there's not any high frets? Is the uh, you know, how's the intonation set up on the bridge? Stuff like that. Some of the better companies take a little bit more time, and therefore those guitars are a little bit more money. So if you're buying an import guitar and you're spending in the neighborhood of let's say $500 to $1,000, it's usually a really safe bet. Those are going to be really nice guitars. I will say PRS SE imports are probably the best import guitar that you can buy currently. I don't think there's a better import than a PRS SE model. Now, I know that Paul Reed Smith, they look at those guitars when they come in and they check them out. So that has a lot to do with their QC and their inspection process. The new Epiphones, inspired by Gibson Epiphones, are outstanding. I mentioned Solar guitars earlier. I have had several Solar guitars. I haven't had any issues. They are wonderful, wonderful guitars. Edwards and Orville guitars are tremendous. I need to try a Greco. I haven't tried those. Now, I will say that the Squires, the import Squires that I've worked on, it seems like a lot of those sit around maybe in warehouses forever. I'm not sure what the deal is, but I mean, most of the low end Fender stuff, not really the Mexican stuff, but the Squire line and the cheap Ibanez, like the Geo models and the low end Jacksons, uh, those have really sharp frets, and I've seen some electronical errors, not errors, but electrical issues right out of the box. A lot of it with Squire, and a lot of it with Ibanez. You know, nothing against Ibanez, but I've seen a lot of issues with Ibanez Geo models with frets and electronics, and over time, a lot of those guitars come in months later when I, you know, doing tech work with faulty switches, 5-way switches, pots, output jacks, high frets, defective tuners. So I think the failure rate on those particular models is pretty high, just from my experience. All right, so next question. David Kraft, 4919. Hey, Marty, thanks for all you do for the guitar community. You're welcome. Do you have any go-to string gauge? How about fret preferences? I really enjoy your channel and lesson format. Rock on. David, thanks for being an awesome subscriber, man. You really do support the channel a lot. I appreciate it. String gauge, I like 9s with my guitars that have Floyd Roses. I like hybrid, Ernie Ball hybrids for my Les Pauls and fixed bridges. I'm basically mix and match 10s and 9s. Those are my go-to strings. 9s typically all the way through, or hybrids, 10 and 9s. I like medium jumbo frets the best. Jumbo frets are cool, but sometimes I press a little too hard and they seem to go sharp on pitch. So, but jumbo frets are great for doing legato. I have nothing against them. I like a fat neck more so. The neck, the thickness of the neck to me is a thick C, or just round neck is preferable for me. Frets don't really make a big difference, and I don't care if they're stainless steel or nickel. I've never worn frets completely down on a guitar. Okay, next question is from Tim O'Leary, 163. Good recommendations for rock and music clubs in Nashville. Man, I used to play over 100 shows a year in Nashville with my original band, and in the last 6 years since I've been more inactive, I haven't been as active, playing live music by choice. A lot of the scene has changed. So when you're out of the scene, you kind of lose touch. But I do know Eastside Bowl, Brooklyn Bowl, Cobra, clubs like that are good rock and music clubs in Nashville. Man, there used to be so many cool places to play. Bowie's recently shut down. Bowie's was a great place on 3rd Avenue. But back in the day, Reverb Room and Hard Rock was great. Rock Bar was cool. The Rutledge was cool. There used to be some really nice rock clubs, but the music scene in Nashville has changed dynamically. So for rock and music clubs, I would say Brooklyn Bowl, Eastside Bowl, Cobra. Those are probably my top 3. In fact, I'm going to be, I believe it's Eastside Bowl. I'm going to be there. Yeah, Eastside Bowl. I'm going to be there Friday night, hanging out, watching a friend of mine play. So that's a good place to hang. Plus, they got good food and you can bowl if you like to bowl. Who doesn't like to bowl, right? Okay, Stradalicious Steven. Hey Marty, love your channel. What is your pedal choice for the true 80s sound? All right, my main pedal of choice, you can't get it anymore. They're super expensive, crazy. I got mine from some dude selling it for $200 years ago, but it's a Pussy Melter by Steel Panther Satchel. The Pussy Melter is awesome. It's a TC Electronics pedal. If you can get your hands on a Pussy Melter, that's the 80s sound right there. If you can't, I would say the Friedman BE pedal. The Friedman BE pedal is excellent. A trick to the BE pedal is you got to take the pedal apart, and there's a little gain knob on the inside on the motherboard, because sometimes they come a little bit too gainy. You can dial that gain switch down on the motherboard and put it back together, and it's a little tiny screw that you can use with a screwdriver. It's intentionally put there, but they don't tell you about it. You got to look it up and research it. But the BE pedal is awesome. The Plextortion, the Wampler Plextortion pedal is also amazing. The Plextortion is almost identical to the Pussy Melter. So if you can get your hands on a Plextortion, try one of those out. But I would say those 3 pedals are my favorite for the 80s metal sound. All right, next question is Keir Campbell, WJ50M. Where can I get a set it and forget it EVH tone? Man, that's the question we all want to have answered, right? A set it and forget it EVH tone. Okay, this is kind of cliche. Tone is in your hands, okay? So much of what EVH did was, the way that he palm muted and accented the notes, his pick aggression, and the tenacity in his playing. And a lot of tone comes from that. And Eddie, if you're talking about old Van Halen tone, 78, or prior to them getting signed, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, all the way up through, up until about 84. It changed a little bit in 84, but it was all just a plexi, just turned really loud. And Eddie didn't really use a lot of gain. It was all pick technique, but and a lot of mid-range. He did have an attenuator that he used on his amp to get the amp to drive a little bit more, but really the vintage Van Halen sound is just volume and a lot of mids and tenacity in your playing and your right hand picking technique. So if you're looking at 84, you kind of need to start experimenting a little bit with stereo chorus and a little bit of stereo delay. As Eddie progressed more into the Hagar years, he started using the Eventide harmonizer for his detuner, and he would run wet, dry, wet. And he got really, really into a lot of gain around For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. And I was never a big fan of the 5150 PV amp. I know everybody, loves it, and yeah, it's a great amp. It just wasn't the amp for me. It just was too noisy and too much gain. The 5153s, especially the ones with the EL34s, sound excellent, and the 5150 Iconic heads and amplifiers probably today is the most affordable way for you to get the Van Halen tone. The PV or the EVH 5150 Iconic amps, the combos sound really great, and the heads. So, but yeah, you have to, depending on which era of Van Halen you want to go with, a lot of it's, I would say the classic Van Halen sound is just volume and right hand picking technique. Lots of mids, just a real nice crunchy barky sound and lots of volume. So hope that helps. You got to use your ears. You got to really dial in that tone and listen to it. Remember, when you listen back to old Van Halen bootlegs, Eddie's sound on the record was close to what he was getting in the studio, but a lot of times, they add things to those sounds to make them fill out a little bit more in the mix. All right, I got an email today. Oh, this comes from BMAC5085. Today I got an email from the EVH store about a new coffee table book on the band. It has a mixture of stories and pictures of the band through the years. Would like to know your thoughts on it. Also, what you think about all the videos now coming out on YouTube about Eddie and the band, stuff that I have never seen or heard before. I haven't really looked at the EVH store a lot recently. I did look at it the other day, and I saw some of the books in there. I think you're talking about the visual history, like that book of Van Halen. I've got that book somewhere. It's a full color book. That's a really cool book. There's a lot of really nice high definition pictures and a lot of pictures in there that I hadn't seen before. If that's the book you're talking about anyway, I need to look into that some more. As far as the new videos coming out on Eddie and the band, stuff I haven't seen before, I've seen a lot of that stuff too, man. I think it's really cool. I wonder where some of this stuff is coming from. It's almost like people are are digging this stuff out of some secret archive. I wish they were longer. Some of them are only like a minute and a half long, but I've seen some footage lately that it blows me away, like from the 5150 tour and some of the stuff from 5150 Studios. And recently, that Australia full concert from, I think it was 2015, that was so cool. I watched the whole thing. I love it. So yeah, I wish we would get some stuff from the 5150 vaults. I wish Wolfgang would start putting together some things, but hopefully before we're all dead, right? All right, and that's the last question. Looks like that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you didn't find it boring, and I really appreciate everybody's support on the channel. It's been an interesting month. As many of you may know, I have teched for Sam Ash as one of my jobs. I have several jobs. I do a lot of things. I do YouTube. YouTube's a huge portion of my income, and I tech at Sam Ash. Sam Ash is closing, and I'm no longer going to be working at Sam Ash. I'm moving on to other things. I'm not going to disclose what it is. I'm going to be working at home full time, but I'll be still working for a music corporation. I'm just going to keep my cards close to me, and I still teach and I still do a bunch of other music projects. But it's been an interesting month and a life-changing month in some ways, but it's been good, and the channel has really helped me keep my sanity, and I'm glad that I'm doing it because I get to communicate with wonderful viewers like everybody that asks me these questions. I'm going to keep doing YouTube until the wheels fall off the cart, or people just decide they hate me and they don't want to watch anymore. I'll probably still do it because it's fun and I enjoy putting out content. But thanks for sticking with me. Sorry if the content's been a little bit slower rolling out lately, but it's just been a lot of stuff going on and a lot of side projects. And that's it. Please comment if you haven't subscribed already. Please subscribe. It helps me out. And until next time, have a great day. Peace out.